How to determine if a source is credible. When writing a paper for school, it's usually always preferred that you get your information through academic databases because that information has usually been verified as credible. However, academic databases do not always contain all types of information that you may need for a paper, or it may not be in the best format. Therefore, you may want to search the internet to find your information. However, stuff on the internet that you can find through Google or Yahoo or any other search engine has not been vetted for credibility, which means that you must determine if the source is credible. So how do you do that? There are 3 criteria that you can look at: the author, the text, and the publisher. So for the author, does the author have a degree in the field that they are talking about or writing on? Does the author have personal experience or related work experience related to their topic? And then, is the author a well-known authority on the subject that they're writing on? For the text, does the author reference where they got their information either through citations or hyperlinks? Does the information in the text match what other publications are saying? Meaning, if you found 5 sources that say X and this one author is saying Y, you have to question, why is this one person saying Y? Are they looking at different information, or are they misinterpreting the information that they have? Then last, for the publisher, does the publisher have a good reputation? Are they known for being accurate? Does the publisher employ peer review or fact-checking? And does the publisher have an agenda or bias? If they do have an agenda or bias, that doesn't mean the information they're giving you is wrong, but you should just verify it or make sure that you're getting the complete picture. So now what I want to do is walk you through some examples from the internet. So I Googled teamwork and came across this article which looked interesting and had information that I needed, but let's employ the 3 criteria: author, text, and publisher. So for the author, usually an author will be named maybe right after the picture or at the top, or sometimes they're listed at the bottom of the article. So in this case, I see no author, and that's a little bit concerning, but sometimes that's common on the internet. Let's look at the text. So I don't see anything like citations where there's parentheses pointing me to a source, but I do see some hyperlinks. So I'm going to click on these hyperlinks to see where they take me. Now, what I noticed is I clicked on that one hyperlink, but it took me to a different article on the same web site. So that's technically not a source. That's just relinking me to different places on the website, and that does not work. All right, now the publisher. Well, I don't really know anything about this Bright HR. I do see things like pricing, a phone number, a country, and it makes me think that they're trying to sell me something. So if I scroll down to where I can find the About Us section, I can learn more. What is this website? And I see that it's actually a company that sells HR software. So while that doesn't mean that this company is not authoritative, how do I know what they're saying is really true? It's a little bit like an infomercial. Every infomercial says they have the best product. So if I were to use the information from this website, I would have to do more research on this company to make sure, like, are they an authority on this, or are they well known? So really, I would say that this is not a source that should be used in an academic paper. It would be given a no. The second source I have is from something called HR Magazine, so it'd be Human Resources Magazine. Now, immediately I see this author. Now, she's talking about how leaders can foster better collaboration. So I would expect her to have some sort of degree in business or organizational leadership, things like that, or to have work experience. So in her bio, she's the managing editor of HR Magazine. She has some other writing experience. She was a Washington correspondent for the news service, and other agencies. She has a master's degree in journalism and political science. So right there, she doesn't have a degree in leadership or in business. So she doesn't quite have the expertise that I would really like to see for an article like this. But if I scroll through, I do notice that she does mention some sources. And if I click on them, she's pointing me to kind of the book, which I could get on Amazon, which is all right. That works. She is mentioning the book and like quoting the authors from there, so that's all right. So she does have some sources, and I do know from experience that HR Magazine, it is written specifically for those who are in business, and it does have a good reputation. So I would say this is a so-so source, and it could be included in an academic paper if need be. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to go over to a political website. This is for the Brady campaign, which is to end gun violence, and they are one of the more well-known kind of political advocacy groups. Now on this website they have lots of statistics and things. If I were to write a paper on this, these might be helpful, but where did they get these statistics? I need to know that. I can't just take this at face value. So if I click on the see all the stats, they do eventually lead me to where they were getting some of these information. So the CDC, annual statistics on firearms. They do have links to other information down below here and what they mean and defined terms. So this looks good. Now I do have to be aware that they have a bias, but again, that doesn't mean that that's wrong. I just need to verify and get the bigger picture of the issue to make sure that they're using the statistics accurately. So even though there's not a specific author, they do have links to sources, and they are a well-known organization. Now let's go to a different type of source, a TED Talk. So down here I can read a little bit about the author who's presented in this video, and doesn't really say very much, but TED Talk is usually known for getting people who are authorities on their in their field and who are speaking from experience. So I might go and Google this guy to see if I can find out more. So I'm learning he's an author. He's written several books on this, which seems good. He's an adjunct professor. He's presented at TED Talk multiple times on emerging business practice and business visualization. So he seems to be kind of a good authority for the topic that he's writing on, for how to build a team. So I would consider that this is a credible source because the author seems to have experience. We don't get any sources in this because it's a video, but TED is a well-known publisher of good information. All right, the next is a government website. So this is the U.S. Department of Labor, and generally anything published by the government is considered credible and accurate. So even though as I'm scrolling through this article, you're not going to see authors or even necessary links to sources, that's okay. So these links down here are for resources, but not to where they got their information. So I would consider this credible just because of who has published it. The last source I want to cover is what's called a scholarly source. Now I know this article, Interdisciplinary Education and Teamwork, is a scholarly source because of who published it. The publisher is Medical Education, which is a scholarly journal. And I did find this article through the online database Wiley Online Library, which I got by just using Google. There are sometimes academic sources just found through Google. I also know this by the author, who is P. Hall, and right here it tells me that P. Hall is an assistant professor of family medicine at Ottawa University. Okay, so also if I look at the text, that's a key giveaway if something is scholarly. You'll often see an abstract, and they'll kind of organize and have terms like purpose, methods, in the conclusion. And I will also see many links. In this source, there are little like footnotes or numbers, but sometimes they'll be in parentheses, and this will then take me to the sources that this person used. So there are many sources in academic writing. We can see already here within a few paragraphs we're up to 15 sources. So that's the key determination of a scholarly source. Now I do want to say that for scholarly sources, they're considered the most accurate and credible because they go through a process called peer review, which is where the article is read by experts in that field who read through the article to determine if the information is accurate. So in academia, a scholarly source is considered the most reliable type of source because it goes through the most verification. And it's a source that's almost always written for academic researchers or experts in those fields. Only academic journals and publishers ever have peer review. Some news organizations may use fact checking, but that's not the same level as peer review. And usually scholarly sources are found in library databases, but some do exist online. So right there, that's just a quick overview of how to determine credibility with an online source. You should either look for the author, the text, or the publisher to determine credibility.